Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. And this is a out-of-date Dynamite review. And this is going to be a review of the September 16th edition of Dynamite, which of course was from Daily's Place. And Dynamite this week, I thought it was a solid show, in my opinion. I really liked Dynamite this week. We had FTR versus the Jurassic Express. If the Jurassic Express won the match, they get a future tag team title shot for the AEW World Tag Team titles. You had Hangman Adam Page versus Frankie Kazarian of SCU. We had Jericho and Hager take on Private Party. And we also had Thunderosa versus Ivelisse, which the NWA Women's World Championship was on the line. And in the main event, we had the Best Friends versus Santana and Ortiz in a parking lot brawl, which was a awesome parking lot brawl. I loved the hell out of this parking lot brawl. It was just very good brawl it was. But all in all, Dynamite was a solid show this week. And you guys are going to be getting 2 videos from me today. It's Friday, so you're going to be getting the Dynamite review right now. And then later on tonight will be my SmackDown review, as always. But let's get right into the Dynamite review. So Dynamite kicked off this week with FTR versus the Jurassic Express. And like I said, if the Jurassic Express won the match, they will receive a future shot at the AEW World Tag Team titles. And this was a decent match between these teams. And before the match got underway, you had the Young Bucks come out, and they got into the ring, and they end up doing the double super kick to the referee. They knocked the referee out with their double super kicks, which, this whole thing, with Matt and Nick, them being, the heels here, it's pretty cool. Last week on Dynamite, which I didn't cover Dynamite last week, they ended up doing their double super kick to Alex Marvez, which I thought was hilarious because Marvez kept on knocking on their door. The Young Bucks opened the door and they delivered the double super kick to Marvez, which took him out, which I thought was funny. But here, after Matt and Nick laid their double super kicks to the referee, they end up heading to the back and they end up tossing some cash to Tony Khan. Tony Khan was sitting right there. It was the first time I think that Tony Khan has made an appearance on Dynamite. So Tony Khan ended up finding the Bucks, and right when they were there, they end up tossing the cash to Tony Khan, and they end up walking off. FTR was back there. Then FTR made their way out, and the match, like I said, it was a decent match. And you had Jungle Boy end up working on FTR. Luchasaurus ended up getting in. FTR met with Tully Blanchard out there for a minute. Wheeler ended up coming in, and they did a double team on Luchasaurus because Harwood ended up coming in. And at the end of the match, you had FTR win the match because Jungle Boy was on the apron. Dax ended up reversing the pin, and you saw Tully Blanchard and Cash Wheeler end up holding on. They both end up holding on to Jungle Boy's leg, and the referee didn't even see it. So there you go. FTR ended up winning the match. But overall, decent match between these teams. Of course, the Jurassic Express doesn't get a shot at the AEW World Tag Team Championship. But like I said, decent match. And then we had Alex Marvez backstage. He was talking with Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy, and Mark Quinn. And they were checking on Matt Hardy, which supposedly Matt Hardy ended up getting attacked. And Hardy was shown holding his knee. Jericho and Jake Hager ended up walking up. Jericho had his bat in hand. And Jericho and Hager end up asking Matt Hardy if he's okay. Jericho ended up laughing, and he ended up saying, looks like Matt Hardy isn't the luckiest guy in wrestling this week. And so Jericho and Hager end up laughing. Jericho ended up telling Private Party that he'll see them later. But that was that. Then we had Hangman Adam Page versus Frankie Kazarian of SCU. And we had Kenny Omega on commentary during this match. And the guys at commentary were noting that this match was originally scheduled to be a tag team match. And Kenny Omega ended up telling them that he's moving on as a singles competitor. Despite, Hangman Adam Page wanting him and Omega to stay as a team and get the titles back. So Omega, right here, he is done with Hangman Page. He wants to be a singles competitor. But, with them winning the AEW World Tag Team titles when they first won, I'm like, Hangman and Kenny Omega, they weren't a legit tag team. That's my opinion. So we had the match start. Kazarian ended up going for a quick pin on Hangman and Page. Page ended up kicking out at 2. It was back and forth between these guys. And Page ended up delivering a snap suplex and a springboard clothesline to Frankie Kazarian out to the floor. Page ended up following with a splash on Kazarian. We saw Page end up glancing over at Kenny Omega. And at the end of the match, you had Hangman Adam Page end up delivering the buckshot lariat to Frankie Kazarian. So there you go. Hangman and Page end up winning the match, but I thought this was a really good match between Page and Kazarian. Just back and forth. Good wrestling from both Page and Kazarian here. It was like near falls after near falls. It was entertaining. It was an entertaining match. So you had post-match, Kenny Omega end up leaving the commentary table. Page end up looking over to the commentary table, and he ended up seeing that Kenny Omega was gone. And so Page then cracked open a beer, and that was that. And then we had MJF. MJF was in action. He ended up taking on Shawn Dean, which this match only lasted 2 seconds. Because it starts out with MJF going for a handshake to Shawn Dean. MJF ended up poking Shawn Dean in the eye. And MJF then went to the Fujiwara armbar, locked it in on Shawn Dean. Dean ended up tapping out, and that was that. MJF ended up winning. 2-second match. Post-match, of course, MJF ended up getting on the mic, and of course, we always got to hear what MJF has to say because he's that good on the mic. So post-match, Wardlow ended up tossing Shawn Dean out of the ring. He grabbed the mic for MJF. MJF ended up saying that if there's one thing we can agree on, is that he is an honest man. MJF ended up saying that Dictator John, as he's referring to Jon Moxley, he ended up saying that Dictator John is the guy people cheer for. But he ended up cheating in their title match at All Out. MJF then ended up saying that he should that he should be undefeated, and he should have been the AEW World Champion. So we had people in the crowd end up saying, "You're a loser." So a "You're a loser" chant ended up breaking out from the crowd. And MJF ended up saying that he wants to be referred to as the undefeated, undisputed, uncrowned world champion of AEW. So MJF then ended up telling Justin Roberts to announce him as that. So Justin Roberts ended up calling MJF that in a monotone voice. And MJF didn't like that. He ended up telling him to do it right, or Wardlow was going to come over there. I guess Wardlow was going to come and beat up on Justin Roberts if he didn't do it the way MJF wanted him to do it. So Roberts ended up saying it with some more energy. So he ended up saying that, he's the undefeated, undisputed, uncrowned world champion of AEW, MJF. So MJF ended up bringing up how there are so many stables in AEW. He ended up saying that he's always been a lone wolf, but maybe it's time for him to join a wolf pack. He ended up saying that whether he joins someone or not, he's still better than you, and you know it. Just like how it says in his entrance music. But good promo from MJF. The guy, knows how to cut a promo. Anytime he's on the mic, you just gotta listen to what he has to say. The guy is that good, and the guy should be AEW World Champion at some point. When you look at the guy, he is championship material. But it was a good promo from MJF. And then we went to Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston was there along with Pentagon, Junior Phoenix, Butcher and the Blade. And Eddie Kingston ended up saying that he has 3 points to make. 1, he never lost a Casino Battle Royal, which he never did. And he ended up saying to look up the rules. So what is this now? Every week Eddie Kingston's going to cry and say, "Oh, I never lost a Casino Battle Royal." But Eddie Kingston, he's good on the mic. He was good on the mic here. And he ended up also saying, 2, his group is a family, and that they are not a faction. They are a family of violence. And Kingston ended up asking these guys to find some victims. So they grabbed these guys from the ringside area and beat up on them. I guess there were plants that they put there, who are affiliated with AEW. As what WWE does, they put, plants there in the crowd if, they are part of the show, or if they are with something with the company. So they all beat up on these guys. Kingston ended up mocking the poor souls as they got destroyed, meaning these guys. So he ended up saying also 3. He ended up saying that he says, since they got things in order, he ended up telling the Blade that he needs to get his own house in order, which I guess he's referring to him and Allie, because him and Allie are dating. But that was basically that. But good promo from Eddie Kingston. The guy knows how to cut a good promo. And then we had Jericho and Hager versus Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. The match ended up starting with Hager and Quinn getting things going in the match. Mark Quinn ended up avoiding Hager, tagged in Isaiah Cassidy, and they both landed a shot on Hager. Jericho tried to get involved and ended up punching Isaiah Cassidy. Quinn ended up delivering a drop kick, which sent Jericho to the floor. Both Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn ended up delivering suicide dives. And Hager ended up getting back into the ring. Did a slingshot senton by Cassidy. Cassidy ended up doing the slingshot senton to Jake Hager. Mark Quinn ended up coming in. They ended up delivering a double suplex to Jake Hager. And at the end of the match, you had Jericho and Hager win. We had Jericho delivering the Judas effect to Isaiah Cassidy. So there you go. Jericho and Hager ended up winning the match. Overall, the match itself, it was a decent match, in my opinion. Post-match, Jericho ended up beating up Isaiah Cassidy more, and he ended up locking in the walls of Jericho to Cassidy. Mark Quinn got in the ring, and he ended up delivering a Pele kick to Jericho. And we saw Hager end up pulling Jericho out of the ring. And that was that. Well, overall, decent match between these guys. And then they went over what we're going to see on Dynamite. I think it's going to be on Tuesday because it's going to be a special 1-hour edition of Dynamite, which I may cover, but it's going to be after the NBA playoffs. But with this whole NBA playoffs thing, like that night that Dynamite was on Saturday, I recorded it, and it was just a mess. Still, of the NBA playoffs were playing when I had that Dynamite recorded. It's just it's going to be a mess with the NBA playoffs, though. Dynamite not starting on time. So they went over and ended up saying that on this special hour Dynamite, we're going to see Scorpio Sky versus Ben Carter, Anna Jay versus Brandy Rhodes, Matt Sydal versus Sean Spears. And what I really liked was that they announced that Jericho was going to be once again on commentary. So anytime Jericho is on commentary, it's always awesome. It's always awesome when Jericho is on commentary because it's a breath of fresh air. Whenever he's on commentary, and you just got to hear his opinions on what he has to say. So pretty cool. Jericho is going to be on commentary. Then we had Thunderosa versus Ivelisse for the NWA Women's World Championship. Thunderosa, of course, is the NWA Women's World Champion. And the match itself, this was a pretty good women's match here. Hikaru Shida was looking on during this match. Ivelisse was out there along with Diamante. Of course, they won that women's tag team cup tournament. We saw the little medal that they had for winning that tournament. But the match started with Ivelisse slapping Thunderosa's face, and both of them end up trading arm drags. Thunderosa went up to the top rope, and she delivered another arm drag to Ivelisse, and went right into a Hurricanrana. And you had Diamante coming up on the ring apron for the distraction to Thunderosa. Ivelisse ended up rolling out of the ring, did a knee strike. Thunderosa ended up rolling out to the floor. It was back and forth between these women. And in the end, you had Ivelisse end up delivering a kick to the face to Thunderosa. And Thunderosa end up kicking out at 2. Thunderosa end up hitting the Tombstone Pile Driver to Ivelisse. There you go. Thunderosa end up winning the match, retaining the NWA Women's World Championship. And then post-match, Diamante end up jumping Thunderosa from behind. Ivelisse end up holding the NWA World Championship up. And Hikaru Shida ended up jumping into the ring. She ended up kicking Ivelisse. And she ended up throwing Diamante out of the ring into Ivelisse. Both Diamante and Ivelisse end up spilling out to the floor. Hikaru Shida then end up picking up the NWA Women's World Championship, puts it on Thunderosa's shoulder, and then Hikaru Shida then headed to the back. And that was that. But it was cool seeing Hikaru Shida pick up the NWA Women's World Championship, and she had of course, the AEW Women's World Championship on her shoulder. So that was kind of cool seeing her, have the 2 titles. But overall, it was a pretty good women's match between Thunderosa and Ivelisse. Then we went to Kip Sabian, Penelope Ford, and Miro, a.k.a. Rusev, which last week on Dynamite, Miro, a.k.a. Rusev, made his appearance on Dynamite, and he is officially All Elite, and he had a great debut last week where he took shots at WWE, saying that, oh, you could take that brass ring and shove it up your ass. He was taking shots right there at WWE for how they treated Rusev. And now Rusev Day in WWE went to Miro Day in AEW. And when he debuted last week, the people in the crowd were chanting Miro Day. And that was awesome. When he was in WWE with Rusev and they had something going with Rusev Day, they immediately tried to kill that. WWE immediately killed that. But now that he's in AEW, if it's Miro Day, it's going to go very far, in my opinion. So Miro was shown lifting weights. Penelope Ford was spotting him. Kip Sabian ended up saying that once they got in the ring, they are going to be unstoppable. Miro ended up popping up and he ended up telling Kip Sabian that he wants to get in the ring. Sabian ended up saying that they have a little something to do first, because Miro ended up saying that he's the best man, and it was announced last week in his debut that Kip Sabian ended up making Miro his best man for his wedding with Penelope Ford. So Miro ended up saying that he's the best man and that he will throw the best bachelor party. But really happy to see Miro, aka Rusev, in AEW. He's going to be treated more rightly. I think they're going to treat him as much than what WWE did with him. They're going to give him, what he has to say if he delivers like a promo, speak from his own mind. And I hope he takes more shots at WWE, though, for all the crap that WWE has did to him and killing Rusev Day when he was there. And that was the reason why Lana on Monday Night Raw this past week went through the announce table, because WWE is punishing Lana because her husband is now with AEW and she ain't. That was that. Then we saw Jake Roberts and Lance Archer. They end up coming out. Archer, of course, when he comes out, he ends up grabbing a guy from ringside, beats the hell out of the guy. So it's typical Lance Archer when he comes out. Jake Roberts ended up coming out. He got on the mic, and he ended up saying that if Lance Archer has to have some tag partners, he'd lay with the devil. And so Jake the Snake Roberts, ended up calling out Taz. Taz ended up coming out. He headed to the ring, and he ended up saying that he'll have Brian Cage and Ricky Starks team up with Lance Archer as long as Brian Cage gets the first title shot when Lance Archer ends up beating Jon Moxley. So Lance Archer ended up saying that when he puts Moxley down, AEW is going to have a killer new champion. Archer ended up saying that he doesn't care about Eddie Kingston complaining about the Casino Battle Royal. And that's like what I said earlier. Oh, is Eddie Kingston still going to be complaining about how, he never lost the Casino Battle Royal? And then right here, Lance Archer ended up mentioning it. So Archer ended up saying that he and Brian Cage will go Godzilla all over Daly's place. So then Jon Moxley came out. He ended up getting jumped from behind by this guy wearing the AEW mask. And it was revealed to be Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks was sitting there, and Brian Cage comes out of nowhere. He runs over and beats up on Moxley. The security tried to help out, but didn't do anything. We got Moxley getting thrown into a road case from Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. So then we see Will Hobbs. Will Hobbs made his way up to save Moxley. He had a chair in hand, and he smacks Cage with the chair. He ends up swinging the chair, some more. Starks and Cage end up running off. Moxley then ended up taking the mic, and he introduced Will Hobbs as his tag team partner. So Moxley ends up telling Darby Allin to get his ass to Jacksonville next week for the tag team match. So then that was that, though. But Will Hobbs, it was cool seeing him. Cool that he's going to be teaming with Moxley and Darby Allin, which they did make official. So next week we're going to be seeing Moxley, Hobbs, Darby Allin versus Lance Archer, Brian Cage, and Ricky Starks. So that's going to be a pretty good match. Pretty good match between these guys. A good six-man tag. But then it was announced that for next week's lineup, it's going to be Brody Lee versus Orange Cassidy, which the TNT Championship is going to be on the line. We all know who's probably going to win that, Brody Lee. Hikaru Shida and Thunderosa versus Diamante and Ivelisse is set for next week. And then, Chris Jericho is going to appear live, they said. And then we went to the main event, which I loved the hell out of this main event. This was a awesome parking lot brawl between the best friends, Chucky T and Trent versus Santana and Ortiz. This was just awesome. This was awesome from beginning to end. This reminded me of Eddie Guerrero and John Cena's parking lot brawl, which happened on SmackDown in 2003. Watching this brought me back to remembering that. So Santana and Ortiz end up showing up to the parking lot, and they had painted faces. They were, white and, they were white and black. It looked like the poster from that movie, Dead Presidents, I think it was. And they even mentioned it on commentary. So we had the teams. They were surrounded by cars, and people were back there. They started throwing each other into cars, You had Trent end up putting Ortiz in the engine of the car, slams the hood down on Ortiz a bunch of times. Taylor then Chucky T end up then climbing up to the hood of the car, hits a cannonball senton on the hood with Ortiz still in there. And it was just back and forth between these guys. Santana ended up breaking out the baton, ends up smacking Trent and Chucky T with the baton. Santana was shown busted open from the side Miro attack, which he went into. Trent ended up getting catapulted into the back of a truck. Ortiz was shown grabbing a sledgehammer. He ended up throwing it at Chucky T, but missed, and the sledgehammer went right through the car windshield. You had a suplex to Chucky T on the hood of the car by Ortiz, and the back window ended up shattering. Santana then delivered a crossbody onto Chucky T, went for the cover. Chucky T ended up kicking out at 2. And Trent then ended up putting a door against the front of a car. Trent then ended up spearing Ortiz through the door. The door ended up breaking. Ortiz's elbow was cut, and Trent's shoulder was bleeding. Trent tried to go for a tornado DDT to Ortiz, but Ortiz ended up smacking him over the head. Chucky T ended up putting a guardrail against the front of a car, ended up suplexing Ortiz through the guardrail. So Santana ends up taking a piece of wood, and he cracks it over Trent's back. The wood just broke like that over Trent's back. So we had Trent got back up, started throwing punches at Santana's face. Trent ended up heading over to another car, picked up Ortiz, and he took a low blow. Ortiz then ended up powerbombing Trent on the hood of the car. And then we had this part where Santana and Ortiz end up powerbombing Trent into the windshield. And the windshield end up shattering. And right from that, you saw Trent's back all bloodied up. So we had Chucky T end up getting sent into trash cans. Ortiz then ended up smacking Trent with a piece of wood. And at the end, we had the trunk end up popping open from one of the cars. And out came Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy then delivered the orange punch to Santana because Cassidy ended up having a steel chain wrapped around his fist, and that is when he laid the orange punch to Santana, which knocked Santana out. Taylor ended up delivering a pile driver on the hood of the car to Santana, which was crazy. Trent ended up playing Ortiz through a sheet of wood that was set up on the back of the truck. It was like a truck bed. So Trent ended up playing Ortiz through the wood. The wood ended up cracking. And then Trent ended up pinning Ortiz for the 1, 2, 3. There you go. The best friends ended up winning this awesome parking lot brawl. This parking lot brawl was very well done. It was really awesome. You know, right when I was watching this match, I couldn't keep my eyes off of it. That's how good this parking lot brawl was. Matter of fact, after I finished watching, I watched it a second time, and it was just that awesome. But post-match, you had Orange Cassidy, helping Chucky T and Trent, his boys, over to Sue's van. It was Trent's mom's Sue's van, and the group end up getting in. Best friends end up getting in. She drives off. Sue ends up driving off with them. She ends up stopping for a second, and this is really hilarious. She stops the van, and she ends up flipping off Santana and Ortiz the middle finger. She ends up sticking up the middle finger like that, and then she ends up driving off, which was hilarious. So that was kind of payback to Santana and Ortiz destroying the van a few weeks back. Destroying the windshield with the sledgehammer, spray painting the van, and also taking the best friend's luggage and pouring bleach all over it. So, and that was that. That was Dynamite this week, but very solid show. Dynamite was. Loved this parking lot brawl. And if you guys haven't seen the parking lot brawl, definitely go back and watch it. It's that entertaining. But anyways, that's it for the Dynamite review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all later tonight with the SmackDown review. So, till then, see you all later tonight.